Hey everybody, it's Mark again, and I hope everybody is enjoying my videos. Well, today we have an extremely rare cuckoo clock that we're going to be working on. I have over 200 cuckoo clocks in my possession. I have worked on other people's, my friends in the Springfield area, cuckoo clocks. I see cuckoo clocks all the time. I'm the admin for two different groups. I look at cuckoo clocks all the time, and I have never seen one like this. And I got extremely lucky buying it. I posted a message to the NAWCC message board just to show them the clock. I've never heard of one. So this video is going to be extremely long. Probably one of the longest videos I've ever posted. There are currently 73 videos, parts of the video, and of course I'll speed some of them up, but I think I'm going to make this into one complete video. Now that's going to depend on when I start editing my video. If it's more than 2 hours long, I'm going to make it into two separate videos. But you don't have to watch it all at the same time. You could watch part of it, leave me comments, come back to it, watch the rest of it. You know, I got people that ask me to post videos all the time because they really enjoy my videos. And then I got people that want me to help them out, and I'll send them a video, and the only thing I ask is for them to leave comments on my video, and most of the time they don't do it. And so you're damned if you do, and you're damned if you don't. And I was gonna schedule this video. I've got videos scheduled all the way out to the end of February. I was gonna schedule this video for March, but I think I'm gonna bump it up because I have a lot of people interested in this clock. So kick back, relax, grab something to eat, grab something to drink, grab some popcorn, grab a cigarette, and let's learn things. And please, give me a thumbs up, leave me comments. Whether you leave comments, whether you watch the video for 20 minutes, leave me comments. Then come back to it. Leave me more comments. It helps out my channel. And that's all I ask of people. I have other clocks that I need to be working on, but I'm excited about this clock, so I'm going to start working on it. I need to take the hour hand off. Which it's designed with the tube, but the hand is metal, and I need to release the cuckoo bird from the door. I need to take pictures before I do anything else. This is the first clock like this that I've worked on. So let me take some pictures. Okay, I don't need to release the bird from the door. The bird is not connected to the movement. And there is no back door for this clock. So, and the movement is not doing a very good job of sitting where it is. The bellow tube can come off to get it out of my way because I have to glue the top part of the bellow back on. Low note lever. trying to figure out how this movement comes out, because currently it's just sitting in there. There is a brace down here that would hold the bottom of the movement, but I don't know if there's a screw on the front. There might be a screw underneath the dial, but something is holding it in place, and I don't know what it is. So I think I'm going to see if I can pop the dial off. I don't know. There's this wire right here that pushes the bird out, and then this wire here, which is part of the bellow, lifts the bird's tail, but this wire, which is connected to here, pushes the bird out. But oh, I see a screw now. How to get to it? There's a screw right there that's holding this movement in place. So stand by. Let me see if I can get it out. These blocks of wood screw down to the movement, and they're glued into the case. How and why they designed them that way, I have no clue. But I got the movement out. These rollers go into the movement, into the case, and there's a nail that holds these rollers in place. And once I got the one nail was already out, and I took this part off. This part is what the bottom of the movement sits on, like so. But once I took the nails out, I was able to take the movement out, and I'm going to set this case to the side, and we'll come back to it later. But here's the movement, and initially I don't see any maker's marks. Somebody did scratch an X right here, but I'm going to set this thing up in my stand, my movement stand, and see what it does. Now I have it in my stand, and I told you that this here is what makes the cuckoo bird go out, and I want you to watch it. Now, what makes the cuckoo bird, the bellows, go off is these pins, but they're not positioned correctly. Let me see if I can fix that. Hopefully you can see it. These pins, as you can see, this pin here is hitting, this lever here is hitting the pins, which would make the bellow go up and down. And same way with this one. It's pushing them down, But this one here don't have the wire in it to make the cuckoo go up and down. Let me show that to you again. I have a 420 gram weights on it right now. Not really for sure what this cam is for, as there's nothing that is it's fallen into, but the clock seems to be cuckooing just fine. That was 2. This should be 3, and it stops. It only cuckoos on the hour, and the reason why it only cuckoos on the hour is this count wheel has only got notches, one great big long notch for the hour. If you cuckooed on the half hour, it would have a notch here and then another long notch here. So it only cuckoos on the hour. And the verge assembly is in front of the movement. You should be able to see So anyway, I think what I need to do is take a crap load of pictures and put this thing in my ultrasonic cleaner. Or I might just put it in my ultrasonic cleaner without taking it apart, because everything seems to be working on it just fine. Really cool design. Why they make these governor fans to where this rod is sticking all the way out, I have no idea. I'm sure it serves some function of some sort. Why it's made that way, I don't know. But there's this wire here that you can lift and it'll trip the cuckoo. What size weights it takes, I have no idea. But currently, without the bellows connected, the 420 gram weight is working just fine on the cuckoo side. The clock wasn't ticking on my stand, and that's because the rope got wrapped around the shaft. It is ticking away. There should be a... Oh, there's the click. It's underneath. It's underneath this silver spool. Looking at bushing wear, and the bushing that needs to replace the most is this escapement wheel. And so I'm going to take pictures of all this stuff, and I'm going to take the movement apart. I told you I didn't know what this cam was for. Well, now I do. This cam, its whole job is to push up on this wire to make it cuckoo. Just like that. There's a screw and a nut to take this mechanism off. The string's getting in my way. This wire is getting in my way, so I'm going to take it off. This is that trip wire, which is easily put back on. I'm wondering if an American made this clock, because this, to me, looks like an American movement. And I'm going to take a picture, and I'm going to search for this picture, doing a Google Lens search, to see if I could find out who made this movement. I bet it's American made. Eugene Dorr, my friend Eugene Dorr, has got a couple of spring-driven cuckoo clocks, and I believe both of his clocks were made by New Haven. Now here's one of Eugene Dorr's New Haven cuckoo clock. It is spring-driven. And if you look at the movement, spring-driven, but it has a few characters of the clock that I'm working on, but I'm going to do a Google Lens search on that movement. And guess what? I found it. Exact same movement. And guess who made it? Jerome. Exact same movement. Except for this doesn't say Jerome on it. These match that. This matches this. Exact same movement. I don't know if they have a picture of the other side of the movement or not. And this is from a 30-hour clock. And Chauncey Jerome, from 1793 to 1698, was one of the many pioneer clockmakers. Jerome began his career in Waterbury, Connecticut, making dials for long case clocks. Jerome learned what he could about clocks, particularly clock cases, and went to New Jersey to make 7-foot cases for clocks. In 1816, he went to work for Eli Terry, making patent shelf clocks, and learned how to make previous handmade cases using machinery. In 1822, Jerome moved to Bristol, Connecticut, and opened up a shop. So this clock is made by Chauncey Jerome of New Haven, Connecticut. Continuing my Google Lens search, and I typed in Chauncey Jerome cuckoo clock, and this came up. It's not a cuckoo clock, but it's a 30-hour shelf clock that's on eBay right now. It's the exact same movement, and it is a weight-driven clock, a Chauncey Jerome. Again, my clock is not marked. What I could do is buy this thing and take the rear plate off. That way it has Chauncey Jerome on it, but I'm not going to do that. Exact same movement. Chauncey Jerome, New Haven, Connecticut. Weight-driven, key-wound movement. I'm on the NAWCC, and it says that this type of movement, usually about 2.5 to 2.75 pound weights. And I imagine that has to do with each clock also. going back to this webpage, it says Jerome Manufacturing Company bankrupt in 1856. So the clock was made prior to 1856, I believe. So I got the spring off. Now to take this cam off, I already started it, but I use tools like this. If you can get it underneath, you're not cutting the item. The shape of the tool will bring it off. And if you can't use that, use something else that's tapered. You put this underneath and push it, and that will bring it off. If you can't use that, use a set of tweezers and push it, and that will bring it off. But this was able to fit underneath and brought it right off. Now, these pieces here, I don't know if I'm going to be able to take out. I'm probably going to have to leave them in. They look like they're pressed on. I don't know if I'm going to be able to take them off. I'm not going to try it. I still like to know why this thing is so dang long. So you can play with it, I guess. But let me put the legs on this thing, and then hopefully I'll be able to take it out, and so I can get a picture of it from above. And you want to study these levers right here. You want to see exactly where they're going. This lever that I'm pushing on, it lifts up this lever here, which is takes the lever out of the count wheel. So the J lever goes on top of the minute wheel with center arbor. But you want to pay attention of how they're set up. The J wire goes underneath this middle lever here, so it rests on top of the minute wheel with center arbor. And then this next wire goes in between those two wires, and I think that's so the J wire can't go any further. And then the lever with the that goes into the count wheel, it's the second lever here. So you got to pay attention to how those levers are set up. I got the legs on, and hopefully when I take these pins out, I'll be able to pull the movement straight up and be able to take a picture straight down. Pictures are your friend. And I hate working on American movements because of the J-hooks and the other hooks. Scott Johnson from Scotty's Clock World and Michael Anderson and Cheryl Adair, they all three do a really good job at putting those levers together. I'm working on a New Haven clock right now that I'm going to throw it across the yard. There always has to be one pin that just don't want to come out. It was this one, and I had to cut it off. These there we go. Now I need to take a picture of this so I can put it back together. And I want to take pictures of it from all four sides also, because without the plate on, you can see it better. So stand by. So I'm going to start with the time side. The escapement wheel, the second wheel, and the great wheel. Moving over to the strike side, I'm going to take the governor fan out. Remember, you had to pay attention to how these levers went. The second wheel and the great wheel. And so this goes on first, and then this fits right in between it. And that didn't want to come out that well, so we're going to have to look at the pivots. And like I said, these two levers here, I didn't take out. So now it's time to put all this stuff in the ultrasonic cleaner. And remember, I said that I'm probably going to have to put a bushing where the escapement wheel goes. That goes on there, and then that goes on. You didn't see that. This big washer goes on, and then this wheel goes on, and then that clip. But I'm going to have to put a bushing in this, where the escapement wheel goes. I hope y'all are enjoying this video. Leave me some comments, give me a thumbs up, subscribe. And I didn't want to put the great wheels in with the string on it in my ultrasonic cleaner. So I cut the knot off, took the strings out, and so now I'm going to put this stuff in my ultrasonic cleaner. While my parts are in the hairdryer, I went ahead and glued this board down, and I got tape to hold it in place until the glue dries. And I end up taking the bird out because where the bird comes through the door, this piece right here, the piece of veneer was sticking up, so I had to take the bird out to clean that and glue it down. And for something that's 170, 180 years old, this cuckoo bird is in perfect condition. I think that thing looks neat as crap. And I don't think that this clock was used that much. Isn't that thing beautiful? And a lot of people might disagree with my methods, but I use wood glue to glue this bellow top back down, and the clamp would be pretty big, and a lot of times the clamps don't hold. So what I do is I use super glue around the edges and then put baking soda on, and that will hold it while the wood glue is drying. I think this looks like crap myself. So I took some Blue Magic in my Dremel and I did this side of the movement. It's shiny for the most part. Once I take a lint-free cloth and wipe it off, it'll look better. And once I finish putting the Blue Magic on this side, it'll look better. And I have to put a bushing in here. It looks better, but I've never seen anything, and I've already shined this part. I've never seen any metal turn back to red. Have you? But it looks like it's turning back to red. I don't know what's causing that. I think I'm going to put some Renaissance wax on it, and then I'm going to take a break. Maybe this will help it. Here I'm polishing the parts themselves up, and I always say work harder, not smarter. I use these furniture pads to put on my rotary tool. It's a lot cheaper than buying the pads for the rotary tools. Using my drill and my rotary tool both. and it was a lot better than what it started out. And these were all red. I'm not going to get it all off, but I'll get most of it off. Got the governor fan to do. This wasn't red to start with. I think, and I'm not bleeding, I think they used red metal. And that's why a lot of this stuff is going back red. See, I think they painted it. So I better not do that anymore. Now, I'm not taking a lot of time on this, because I don't know whether it's going to turn back red or not. I like putting the, it don't matter whether you use Mothers, whether you use Blue Magic or Semi-Chrome, I like putting it on the metal first, because this tool is hot, and it kind of makes it work better. And that's basically all the parts that I'm going to do. And from experience, before you do anything else, you need to wash your hands. This is Blue Magic and dirt all over my hands. And on a side note, if y'all use this stuff, don't buy it anymore. Get a container, but don't buy it. Buy it the first time, that way you have the container. I watch Facebook reels all the time. And there's this guy that, his saying, I tell y'all, that Just Mike is, his thing is, and don't forget to subscribe because it's free. Well, this guy is, it took me 40 years before I realized this, or something like that. Dawn dish detergent. Pour some in that container. Put the rest, put a container of rubbing alcohol. It's the same stuff. You know how much money you save by doing that? I think that container cost me like $7 or $8 at Walmart. And it does a great job at cleaning stuff. But all it is Dawn dish detergent and rubbing alcohol. Don't believe me? Try for yourself. It works. I don't know if I was recording or not. So anyway, you cut the string off. There's a divot that the knot goes in. You cut the string, and then you take a lighter to it, and then you start feeding it. And you got to have it between these washers. You start feeding it through this hole, find something sharp to feed it with, and then look on the other side, and you will see that it's starting to come out. And take a pair of tweezers, if you can, and pull it through. And if you can't, you got to feed it some more. I might have to get out a wire because I'm using these jacked up tweezers. So stand by. And once you get it through, tie yourself a knot. Remember, that divot is for this knot to go through. So you tie yourself a knot, And then you pull it so it goes inside that divot. Just like so. And so now I'm ready to start putting the movement together. And I think I'm going to do that off camera. Remember, this is a pinned movement. This is where the rubber bands come in handy. It's to help hold your plates together while you pick up this movement and find out which wheel needs to go in place. This is my pivot locator tool. It's a screwdriver. I put notches in it. So you just go around looking for the wheels that are high up on the movement. And do your best. And don't forget the escapement wheel mark. But anyway, I'm going to continue doing that, and that's what the rubber bands are to help you out. And your pictures are to help you out, because you don't know whether the cuckoo lift arms going this hole, that hole, that hole, or that hole. And that's why you look at your pictures. And you will see they both go on the far left hole. I do take pictures. Now I got the movement all back together except for this and the birch assembly. And I wound up the ropes, and you can see all the wheels turning on the time side and on the strike side. And it stops. When it stops, this wire here goes into the cam, and then this wire is stopping the governor band from spinning, and then this wire goes into the notches. It's time for me to stop for the night, because remember, I did some case repair and I need to let that dry before I go any further. Hope y'all are enjoying this video. Again, if you're liking this video, please leave me comments, hit the subscribe button, and give me a thumbs up. Now, I could be wrong, but in my pictures, the wire that comes off this block goes underneath this wire that's in this wood. And that doesn't make any sense to me, because this wire that's in this wood, it's got a 90-degree angle going up. And I think this wire is supposed to go on top of that wire that goes in this wood. That way the cuckoo doesn't come back too far, so it hits that 90-degree angle there. And again, I could be wrong, but that is how I see it. So that's how I'm going to hook it up. And by the way, this wire is shoved in this hole. And it's loose. That way the cuckoo can come in and out. The wire rotates in this block of wood. Now what's going to suck with this clock, and this, one of the things I don't like about it, is a birch and crutch assembly is in front of the movement. So all adjustments need to be made on the stand, and I need to be halfway accurate, because once you put the movement into the case, you're not going to be able to adjust it other than tilting the clock one way or the other. And the type of pendulum that it takes, let me show you real fast. This pendulum here came off another clock of mine. It takes this wire, it takes something like that to make it tick. So like I said, all adjustments need to be made on this stand. And I still don't know what weight it's going to take to make this thing work. Currently I have a 420 gram weight on it, It's ticking away, but it might take a heavier weight. That all depends on the bellows. You know, the website that I showed you, they said that these type of movements take 2.5 pounds, but that's for like an OG clock. This is a cuckoo clock, so I don't know what weight it's gonna actually take. With my makeshift pendulum here, with a heavier weight, the clock's been running for over an hour. So it's gonna take a heavier weight other than the 420 gram weights. And I need to come up with a better pendulum. But I was just testing this to see if the clock would stay running. And it is. So it's time to put this movement into the case. And before you glue any wood down, you should take a Dremel or something and clean off the old glue and rough it up a little bit. And that's what I did to both this and the case. The original nails that were in this clock were really bent up. Here's one of the original nails that they had in the clock. And it was bent up and they're too long. This nail on this side, I cut it off some. You can see the roller is rolling. This nail, I haven't cut it off. And I need to cut it off because the pendulum leader wire could be hitting that nail and stopping the clock. Now I have two nails in. The rollers do what they're supposed to. So it's time to put the movement into the case. I'm getting ahead of myself. Before I put the movement into the case, I have to make one of these for this. There's a hole that this goes into, and then I have to make one of these. So I need to come up with a wire this diameter. That way it fits into that hole. And then flatten it, drill a hole. That way the pendulum, the bellow wire will fit into that hole. So I selected a piece of pivot staff that I'm gonna soften. And the way you soften items, you bring it to cherry red and let it cool slowly. And then you'll be able to work with it. But afterwards, after you get it all shaped the way you want, you need to harden it. And so you bring it to cherry red and you quench it in oil or water. I use water myself. And the way this wheel works, this lever here is gonna go off first, and then this lever. So this would be the high note lever, and this would be the low note lever. I didn't know how long of a piece I needed, so I left it long, and that way I can push it through and cut the excess off if I need to. In messing with this thing, the stupid suspension spring got bent, so I gotta put this thing back on my stand. Make sure it's still in beat, because I told you that once you put this clock in the case, you cannot adjust this stuff. So that's the only thing I don't like about this clock is, well, one of the things I don't like about this clock is the fact that you can't adjust it once it's in the stand. But as you can see, the wires are working properly, and it's shutting off where it's supposed to. Now the fan has got this wire right here on it, and there's a bent piece of the fan that goes over that wire, and the fan kept sliding back and forth, so I had to smash that down. I'm probably going to put some super glue on it because I don't want this fan moving, because if the fan moves, if it slides forward, it hits this wire right here, which stops the fan when it's supposed to stop the fan. So, like I said, I don't want that thing sliding forward. There are certain things that I go to quite often. One is a cordless drill. Another one is super glue and baking soda. I don't know. I'm not a rocket scientist. I'm smarter in person than I am on paper. I can't take a test. Not the military test, not the post office test. They're designed by psychiatrists. But I'm smarter in person than I am on tests. But the person that designed that thought of using super glue and baking soda, or super glue and toilet paper, or super glue and something else to cause a chemical reaction, my hat's off to them, because I use this stuff all the time. And I put some super glue and baking soda on this fan so it doesn't move. And I use my cordless drill all the time for different things. Now this clock has been ticking all night with that makeshift pendulum. And I want to show you something. The great wheel, it attaches to the minute wheel with center arbor, and it also attaches to the second wheel right here. Now I want to show you something. The great wheel is no longer attaching to the minute wheel with center arbor, which is what I'm spinning, and that's because it's bent, okay? However, even with this straightened out, it's not reaching the second wheel lantern pinion. So stranger things have happened in my house. I got to take this apart and try to straighten out the great wheel wheel itself, because it's warped, and I think it has something to do with this clip. This clip came off-centered. It rotated on me, I guess. There's a pin that holds that clip in place. Here's the pin, and it's almost coming through. But anyway, time for me to take a break, and then I gotta take this all back apart to fix this great wheel. Sometimes I hate clocks. The issue was this taper pin was coming out of the hole, which allowed the wheel to come back, and it wasn't catching the click system that well. But now you can see that the great wheel is lined up with this wheel right here, which is on the minute wheel with center arbor, and the second wheel is lined up with the great wheel. And when I put pressure on it, it all stays lined up. So now I just need to connect the birch and crutch assembly again. Crutch assembly connected, it's ticking away again like it's supposed to. So now it's time to put this movement in the case. Now there are two screws that hold this movement in the case on those boards. There's one here, and there's one right here. And then there's this platform right here that's got a notch in it that holds the bottom of the movement. So the movement is nice and secured in the case. Now I took the rollers out. That way I could put these hooks down through the case without having to take that hook off. Now in my picture, this roller was not on. But this roller, it shows that the string is on the outside of the roller. To me, that doesn't make sense, and I'm fixing to show you why I say that. With the string being on the outside of the roller, it seems like it's not really grabbing the roller. I think it should be on the inside but I could be wrong. I might have to take the movement back out. And by the way, a lot of people would not like this cuckoo clock, because every time it cuckoos, this system here pushes the bird out and brings it back in. And when it stops, this wire has to be on top of this cam to allow the bird to come back in. But it's just like a SHOT's cuckoo clock, where every time it cuckoos, the bird goes in and out of the door. But currently, this wire is a little bit too long because it's having trouble going through that. You see that? It's having trouble because this wire is too long. And so I need to take it back out to adjust that wire. And I might have to take the dial off because it's currently not ticking. And I need to find out whether or not there's enough space between the movement and the dial, because when you pull on the great wheel, it's not ticking. The escapement wheel is not advancing. So I might have to take the dial off, which I didn't want to adjust the virgin crutch assembly. Take that back. Taking the dial off is not going to accomplish anything because there's only 3 little bitty holes in this case, so I'm not going to be able to see the virgin crutch assembly. But I've been working on this thing for several hours. It's like 10:30 p.m. Here right now, and so tomorrow's another day, unless I can't sleep, and then I'll come back to it. And by the way, I've said this before, having bubble wrap helps protect your clock while you're working on it. I had the face of the clock sitting down on this bubble wrap. That way I don't damage anything. And it tilts the clock so I can see inside the movement. After a lot of cussing, I end up grinding the original pin too far off, so I had to replace it. And then I finally figured out that this wire here has to be bent forward enough to prevent this from getting above the cam. If I was to bring this wire toward the rear, this pin would get on top of this cam. So that's why it has to be bent where it is, so that pin stays in the vicinity of the cam as it turns around. And now it's turning easily. And it has to be on top when it's done striking. Unfortunately, a lot of people is not going to like this clock because it's like a SHOT's cuckoo clock. The SHOT's cuckoo clocks, the cuckoo bird goes in and out of the door while it's cuckooing. The way this thing is designed, because this pushes the bird out and it brings it in as it's cuckooing. And so the bird will go in and out of the door while it's cuckooing. Now, I've had this thing running without the pendulum on it until the weights hit the floor. And I've taken this movement apart several times, and I don't think I oiled it the last time I took it apart. So I need to oil the movement again. I also changed the pendulum, where I had a single wire in this pendulum stick. I made a double wire and bent it over. That way when I put it in the loop, it doesn't go back and forth. And I tighten up the pendulum bob. Also changed out the suspension, spring, and wire. And I had to bend the crutch assembly out toward the front so the pendulum will clear the weights. And it's pretty close to being in beat right there. And tilting it on the wall slightly will get it in beat. As you will see, I open up the foot some. So now the pendulum leader wire is actually bouncing off the foot where it wasn't before. And the clock has been running for 5 minutes so far. And the only thing I did was open the foot. And while that thing is taken away, I'm going to sit here and watch Cheryl Adair's Repairs latest video where she's working on some anniversary/torsion clocks. If y'all have not subscribed to her channel, please do so. And I've said this time and time again, she's a lot better clock repair person and teacher than I am, because she will sit there and study the movements before she takes them apart, where myself, I dig right into it, and sometimes that gets me in trouble. She hasn't been repairing clocks for that long, maybe 2-3 years, but she's really good at it. Her picture is her and her dog. She trains dogs, and she's been on cover of dog magazines for winning. She's also a nurse. Very smart lady. Loves to read. I don't. I have been watching her video for 20 minutes now, and what I love about Cheryl is she's not afraid to tackle any clock. A lot of people don't like working on anniversary clocks, and she just found out the issue with her clock with this click wheel is got some jacked up teeth. But she is not afraid to work on any clock. And to include, and I've talked about this before, she's got a Waterbury perpetual double dial calendar clock where she read the book, she studied up on it, and she figured out how to change it on a leap year from February the 28th to February the 29th to March the 1st. I myself would have just walked over to the calendar and moved the calendar to those days, but not Cheryl. She is really talented, and because she loves to read where I don't like to read, she was able to figure out that perpetual calendar system. And because I've been watching her video, this clock's been ticking for about 30 minutes now, so I think we're there. I have to go to town. I gotta buy some parts for my truck. I took my truck to my neighbor's yesterday so he could fix the tailgate. The clip was bad on it, so it wouldn't open. And as I was leaving, he stopped me and he's like, "Mark, your truck's making a noise." He crawled underneath the truck and the front drive shaft was moving around. He's like, "You need to get some universal joints for the front drive shaft." So I'm gonna let this thing run while I'm gone, and it should be running when I come back. As you can see, the clock is striking just fine and shutting off. Been running for about an hour and a half now, and so I'm going to continue watching Cheryl Adair's video, and then I'll put this movement back in the case. So I started this at 10 a.m. It's now 1:30 and it's still running. I finished watching Cheryl Adair's YouTube video on her working on a torsion/anniversary clock. She did a great job, and she didn't even have the Charles Twilliger book. I sent her a couple of pictures to help her out, but she's very intelligent when it comes to repairing clocks. But anyway, it's time for me to take this movement down and put it in the case, and hopefully in the process not adjust the crutch assembly, because like I said, all this is in front of the clock and you cannot take the dial off to adjust anything. On my computer I've got a few saved clocks. This is Eugene Doerr's spring driven cuckoo clock made by New Haven. Now, Chauncey Jerome, after he went bankrupt, he started working for New Haven. But you could take this dial off and adjust things if you have to. but the crutch assembly is on the back of the movement. My clock, I believe, which is older than this clock, might have been one of the very first ones that Chauncey Jerome made, and they figured out that if you put the virgin crutch assembly in the rear, things are a lot better. As I told you in other videos, you could do all the adjustments you want on the stand, but once you put the clock in the case, it might not work. As you can see, it's level, and it's not quite in beat. So again, you can't really adjust it that much. You can put some wire benders inside there, but I think tilting the clock one way or the other. There I tilted it just a little bit, which allowed it to stay in beat. So I'm not going to mess with adjusting those levers. And again, that is one of the downfalls I find behind this clock, and the fact that the cuckoo bird goes in and out as it cuckoos. But they should have put the virgin crutch assembly on the rear of the movement, or made a bigger hole in the front so you could take the dial off to adjust it. And I might have gotten it out of adjustment by putting this movement in, because you have to put the pendulum leader wire in here. You have to get this wire around the cuckoo wire, and you have to line up the two screw holes that I showed you earlier. And if you touch this just a little bit, the crutch assembly is extremely flexible, and so you could easily bend it just enough to get it out of beat. So the time side string came off its spool, so I have to take this movement back out. I tried releasing the click and unwrapping the string. It's going to be a lot easier just to take the movement out. And I showed this in other videos. Instead of you struggling trying to find out where the screw hole is, stick a toothpick or a piece of wire in the item that you're trying to put the screw in. Let's see if I can do this like this, and slide it up and down until that toothpick falls into the hole, which is right there. You take the toothpick out, put your screw in, no struggling. And no making extra holes in your wood. And I should have showed you, but the suspension spring kept slipping off as I was putting the movement in. So where the suspension spring goes in, I took a pair of pliers and squeezed. That way the suspension spring didn't slip off. And to retrieve the string, because it was wrapped around the ratchet wheel, it was easier for me to cut the knot off of this hook and just pull the string around. And now I have to put another knot in this hook for the weight, which is no big deal. It was a lot easier to do that than to do it like I did, than to retrieve the string without taking the movement out. There we go. Another knot. And I'll snip off the excess rope and take my lighter to it so it doesn't come on braid. All done. Now the bellows are over here, and there's this wire right here that lifts up. Actually, it serves two functions. The bird is extremely big. Okay, so this has to go up just enough to tilt the bird's head down so he goes out the door. but it also is what lifts the bird's tail while it's cuckooing. So a wire has to go, and I don't know whether it goes from the bellow to this wire or whether it is also connected to these lift arms. I'm thinking it goes from the bellow to that wire. So I have to figure that out. Now, I told you earlier that this type of movement, the NAWCC takes 2.5 pounds. And I had a 420 gram weight on the time side and it's working just fine. And I told you that once I put the bellows in, it's probably going to take a heavier weight. I went up to 1,000 grams and it kind of cuckooed, but not quite. So I got a 1,250 gram weight on it. And you could see that the tail of the bird is lifting. However, in the process of messing with all that, the timeside rope came back off the spool again. So I'm going to have to unravel it from the spool because currently it's on the front shaft. And I hope I don't have to take all this stuff back out to do it. Because in order to put the bellows in, you have to take these boards off the rear bellow because it just barely fits in there. And once you got the bellow in, you screw the board to the bellows and then to the main board that holds this board. And the so anyway, I'm getting there. I just gotta fix the time side string. And in my opinion, they shouldn't have put so much rope on, or they should have made those spools bigger so the rope wouldn't come off of it. But, you know, here, this is back in the 1850s. Chauncey Jerome is probably one of the very few people in the United States at the time who ever seen a German-made cuckoo clock. And so this guy's like, you know what? I think I can make one. And I think he did a great job. In lots of ways, this thing is better than a German-made cuckoo clock, but in a lot of ways, it's not as good as a German-made cuckoo clock. I'm on the fence. And like I said, there's a lot of things I love about this clock, and there's a lot of things that could have been better in the making of this clock. But, you know, I wish I was that damn smart, excuse my French, but this guy probably only seen one, maybe two cuckoo clocks before he built this thing. And 1850, it's now 2025. You know, 175 years later, this thing is in immaculate condition for being 175 years old or more. I wanted to give you a preview. It's a lot like a Schatz cuckoo clock. Pretty cool clock for being 175 years old. Love it. And this is where I would love to have Cheryl Adair's patience. She trains dogs professionally. I don't have her patience. I wish she was here right now so she could unravel that string, because I know how much patience I have. Now, I had an ex-girlfriend that told me I had the patience of Job from the Bible. However, my patience is better, but it's not as good as Cheryl Adair's. I would not have the patience to train a dog, but she does. And that's why she makes a really good clock repair person. Y'all should subscribe to her channel if you haven't done so, because you don't know what you're missing. Now, with the low note bellow out of the way and using these barbecue skewers, I'm able to, using the barbecue skewers to keep the string in place as I work the other part of the string around the movement. Whether I could do this on camera or not, I don't know. I'm able to get the string where it needs to go. Another barbecue screw there. But I guess it's one of the disadvantages of having this clock. Like I said, it would be a lot better if the spool was bigger on it. There. Now it's where it needs to be. Hopefully it can stay that way while I wind it up. And speaking of winding it up, the universal key that I have, which is this, won't work because the trim is in the way. So I had to find a key that would fit on this thing. And I'm gonna just wrap this string around here until I'm ready for the next step. That way the string stays in place. But you have to find a key that has a long enough shaft on it that actually fits. This one has a longer shaft on it, so it fits. Where this one, it barely fits in this hole. And it might work, but you might damage your dial while you're trying to wind it up. So you want to make sure you have a key that has a long enough shaft so you're not going to damage the dial. But you should be able to see, this is the time side over here. The string is where it needs to be now. Now I got to put the low note bellow back into place. And by the way, the wire that fits in this hole, it has to be in just right. It has to be, I'm not left-handed. It has to be like that. That way the wire doesn't go down further and it doesn't come out. So I put the weight on the time side to try to get it to tick, and it's not ticking. And even though it was ticking a while ago, I really think that the high note bellow, which is this bellow back here, is touching the second wheel. I'm not for sure whether the second wheel is touching the plate. I don't believe it is, but I think the high note bellow is touching the second wheel. They didn't really take that into design. It's too close to the wheel. And this clock did not come with a back door, but there's holes. A back door should have went on it, so I'm going to make a back door. And this little hole right here, most cuckoo clocks are hung up by this A-frame section up here, but I don't want to drill that hole out any further. Like I said, the clock is at least 175 years old. I'm going to make a back door for it, and that back door will have a hole in it to hang up the clock. And a few years ago, I bought a electric pump organ out of the sheltered workshop. I paid like $10 for it. It was at my house for like 7 or 8, 9 years, and I never got around to fixing it. It was in my house, taking up space, so I took it back. But I kept this board from that, and I'm going to make that back door out of that board because it's already basically the same color, and it's a nice thick board. This video has been long enough, and I'm still tinkering with it, trying to keep it running. And I told you I didn't know what size weights this movement would take. And the eBay listing I said, or anyway, Chauncey Jerome, the particular movement for the NAWCC, said it would take 2.5 pound weights. Well, I'm still tinkering with the weights, but the cuckoo side, if I use less than 1,000 gram weights, it tries to cuckoo, but it sometimes it does and sometimes it doesn't. But these are the original hands that came with it. They're metal hands, and I showed you that in the video. Anyway, I hope y'all liked this video. I did make a posting to the NAWCC message board about this clock, asking folks if they've ever seen a clock like this that is weight driven, but spring key wound. I've never seen a clock like this. I have spring driven cuckoo clocks, and I knew that the American the New Haven Clock Company, which is what Chauncey Jerome company went to, made spring-driven cuckoo clocks, but again, the movement is totally different from this. The clock didn't come with a pendulum, and it didn't come with a back door. And I put a back door on here, and I wasn't happy with it. And so I took the back door off, and this hole was a little bitty hole, and I made it bigger so you can use your standard size screw heads to go in there. But anyway, I hope y'all liked this video. Leave me some comments, and may God bless each and every one of you. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel, but to all the other channels that I mentioned.